Dragon Ball might be a little slow right now, but this next event could be about to change everything. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? A little bit of a late start to the day for me, but it's Friday, so I'm clocking in late and leaving early. Welcome back to another Dragon Ball video, and with Battle Hour quickly approaching, albeit a little bit later in the year this time, I think we're going from January to now April. There are already rumors circulating outside of just Sparking Zero for what we could potentially expect for Battle Hour 2026. So according to the official Dragon Ball Games Battle Hour website and DBS Hype over on Twitter, the titles that will be present for showcases and news, hopefully, for the Battle Hour event next year are Dragon Ball FighterZ, which coincidentally is the first game listed, and we'll get into that more here in a bit. Sparking Zero is second, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, of course, Dokkan Battle, Dragon Ball Legends, Gexten Squadra, which is about to release in what, 3 or 4 days here now. Be sure you're tuned into the channel for that, because we're going to be streaming and obviously uploading daily for that game. Dragon Ball card game Fusion World, and Masters. And I think with the introduction of Squadra now and Sparking Zero this past year, this is probably set to be the largest Dragon Ball Games Battle Hour in the past. This might be the biggest. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but this might be the biggest Battle Hour ever, at least, you know, with the number of titles that they have present. But more importantly, I feel like we have a lot to look forward to with things like Sparking Zero, Squadra now, and fingers crossed, maybe even more than just a tournament for DBFZ. Now, in the last video we did on Battle Hour, we mainly talked about Sparking Zero and things we could potentially see from the event here. And to my knowledge, I'll probably have to check this after I'm done recording, or maybe you guys can let me know down below in the comments. I don't think that there's been any type of Sparking Zero competition announced for Battle Hour. I could be wrong, but as of right now, I don't think that's been announced yet. So I'm still pretty comfortable speculating that it will more or less just be new content being announced for Sparking Zero here. Potentially that big, you know, season 2 that we're all hoping for. But let's talk about some of the other games that are going to be showcased here as well, specifically Dragon Ball FighterZ. On top of the tournament, which I'm sure will have all the usual names in attendance here, both foreign and domestic. Really hope Wawa makes it. I don't know what he's really up to lately, but to me, that's my go to DBFZ. Best Ultimate Gohan of all time. But outside of that, I've already seen fans, mainly on Twitter, still holding on to hope that we'll get one more kind of, I guess, farewell DLC, or maybe even a season pass from ArcSys here. Now, I can't really say too much about the back end of things, at least from what I kind of know. I don't want to get anyone or anything jammed up, but I think ArcSys, how do I say, are more focused on their other partners right now, especially with Marvel Tokon looking to shake up the fighting game scene next year, and I am so excited for that. Probably equally as excited for Tokon as I am for GTA 6, as crazy as that may sound to some people out there, but I am a fighting game player at heart. I put more hours into Guilty Gear Strive in the first 2 months of that game. Matter of fact, I can show you guys here. This has nothing to do with the video, but a little bit of a humble brag, right? So as you guys can see here, Dead by Daylight, I have around 700 hours, and I play that frequently with like The Truth and Papa Berto. We play that a lot. Now, Guilty Gear Strive, I have twice that, 1,400 hours, and 1,200 of those came from the first 2 months of the game being a humble brag again. But the first season of Guilty Gear, I was like a top 300 player. I think I was a top 100 Zato too. So I have put more hours into Strive in the first 2 months of that game being out than I have in some most other games that I've been playing for years on and off, as you guys just saw with DVD. But if there is any news for Dragon Ball FighterZ getting announced at Battle Hour 2026, maybe ArcSys is gonna F with us one last time. A season 4 for DBFZ is all we've been wishing for. The last DLC we had for DBFZ, we can actually pull that up here too. If I just go back to Steam, we'll go to the DLC tab right here. Okay, the last DLC that we had for DBFZ was, of course, Android 21, Lab Coat 21. This was February 23rd, 2022. 3.5 years ago, guys. Obviously, this is a long shot of the century right here, but if we were to get a season 4 of DBFZ, there's a theme that I'd really like them to focus on, and I'm sure that almost everyone else agrees with this too, right? Superhero has been so anticipated for DBFZ, it's not even funny. I mean, the modders are so talented. I honestly think that some of them need to be picked up by ArcSys. Beast Gohan, Orange Piccolo, and some type of dual Gamma 1 and Gamma 2, because I don't want them to take up 2 character slots for pretty much the same character, right? These are the most simple picks, but I feel like we could even take things a step further, right? Now, if I go to some of these lists that I've seen pop up online here, I think this first one is from Slow Plays, right? He has, you know, half of our wish list, right? We have Beast Gohan right here, Orange Piccolo, and then the rest of his Season 4 Fighter Pass wish list is going to be GT themed. Now, I think this right here is Super Saiyan 4 Goku, since we obviously already have Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. We have GT Pan, then we have Omega Shenron. I definitely agree with Omega Shenron. And Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta came out in Season 4 before Lab Coat 21, so I'm surprised that there was no Omega Shenron on the back end of that either. But outside of this one from Slow Plays, I also pulled up another Season 4 wishlist graphic right here too that I think is a little bit more creative. The last one is just superhero and GT focused. This one is a little bit more of a mixed bag, right? Obviously, Omega Shenron is still here. I think that is probably the next most wished for character outside of the superhero pack that we all want to see in fighters. Then we have Topo, who's an interesting pick. Raditz, who I'm surprised so many people want to see him in DBFZ and some other games as well, which is kind of surprising. Like, people want this guy in Squadra too, which I respect. I'm a fan of Raditz, but y'all want him in all of these other games when I feel like there's so much more newer content that we need to focus on first. Then we have Bergamo and Tapion. Now, Tapion to me is the most interesting pick here, and I say that because for years now, you guys can probably go back a couple of years and find me talking about Tapion coming to Dragon Ball FighterZ. If they were to ever add Tapion to fighters, and I wish they kind of did this with Sparking Zero too, Tapion needs to be an install character. And what I mean by that is I feel like Tapion should mainly fight with not only his sword but his flute as well. And when he plays his flute, the different limbs from Hirudegarn can get summoned and they can attack for him without Tapion really having to do anything. You just kind of have to control the summons and things like that. I think that is how they need to make a character like Tapion moving forward in some of these games. Again, I really wish they did that in Sparking Zero. I feel like that's a missed opportunity, but since we obviously have both Tapion and Hirudegarn in the game, maybe they just wanted to focus on him, you know, as a solo character. But a Hirudegarn install Tapion is one of my biggest wishes for any Dragon Ball game of all time. But anyways, these are some of the most wished for characters for a potential Season 4 or just any future DLC for DBFZ, with of course Beast Gohan and Orange Piccolo being at the top of that. Right behind those two has to be Omega Shenron, right? I feel like in every single wish list I've seen, Omega Shenron has been on there. But let's move on over to Dragon Ball Sparking Zero for a quick second, and I won't take too long on this game in particular since we already spoke on a lot of this stuff in the last Battle Hour video that we did. But outside of course, more OG Dragon Ball characters that we're still expecting at some point, after we got this guy right here, after we got Shallot in Sparking Zero, I think 21 is potentially the next game original character that can make a DLC appearance in Sparking Zero, and hopefully she gets announced and maybe even showcased at Battle Hour. I know that is probably actually not a long shot. I feel like 21 is another character that we've been really vocal about wanting in the game, especially after we got Shallot. Once we got Shallot, that was confirmation that game original characters have every right to make it into Sparking Zero, right? In Dragon Ball FighterZ, it took us what, 3 years almost? A matter of fact, I think almost exactly 3 years, because FighterZ came out in February of 2019 if I'm not mistaken, and we got Lab Coat 21 in February of 2022. So in the base game, we were given Majin 21. So in Sparking Zero, maybe we could get a transforming lab coat that turns into Majin. You know, kind of wishful thinking there. I think that's definitely something that could happen though. Beyond that, I'd also love to see Shallot get updated to have the rest of his forms as well, from Super Saiyan all the way to Super Saiyan Blue. Beyond this, DLC past Season 1 for Sparking Zero is pretty much up in the air. Anything could happen. Anything could be next. Now, when it comes to Dragon Ball Legends, and as you guys can probably tell, I'm just going down all the list of Dragon Ball games that are going to be showcased here and what I hope to see from them. When it comes to Dragon Ball Legends, going back to Shallot again, during the 7th anniversary of this game, and this was a pretty big topic too, a lot of us were surprised that Shallot wasn't given any new form. Some of us were expecting Ultra Instinct, others were expecting Super Saiyan 4, so this would be a really cool moment to reveal something more for him in this game as well. But if we don't get any of these before then, I think the most likely scenario for Dragon Ball Legends will be the rest of the Daima cast ideally being what we want to see here. These two guys right here. At this point in time, and when I say that, I'm speaking of at Battle Hour, it will have been over a year now since Diamond was the top tag in Dragon Ball Legends, and we wouldn't have gotten any buffs for that tag since pre-7th anniversary. So this would be one of the coolest reveals for Goma and Super Saiyan 4 Mini Daima Goku for Legends, and honestly some other games too. Now we expect both of these characters to make it in DLC Pack 3 for Sparking Zero, but outside of that, there's really no sign of when these characters will come to all of the other games. Now, with the main graphic for Battle Hour being Super Saiyan 4 Adult Daima Goku, it definitely seems like Daima could be a big focal point for new content in Dragon Ball games getting announced here. In some fever dream, and like I'm just speaking of the biggest hypothetical you've ever seen get pulled out of somebody's ass in their life, in a fever dream perfect world where we just get everything we want, imagine we even get Daima content for DBFZ here. What? Bookmark this video right now and come back in about 8 months, because if it comes true, I'm playing the Powerball, man. But more realistically, Dragon Ball Legends, Dokkan Battle, and hopefully Squadra and Xenoverse 2 finish filling out their Daima roster in their games. It could happen at Battle Hour, it could happen before. But this is my prediction slash wish list for Dragon Ball Games Battle Hour 2026, and all of the titles that I play, at least because I don't play the card games, that are going to be showcased there. So I really hope most, if not all of these things end up happening. I know the DBFZ stuff is really just like a pipe dream, but anything could happen, man. I just hope it's more than the tournament for DBFZ. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Let me know what your wish list slash predictions are for Dragon Ball Games Battle Hour 2026. As more information starts coming out surrounding the event, the closer we get to April, trust me, it'll all be right here. I might even go live if some big enough news comes out. But anyways, fellas, that is gonna do it for this one. Let me know if you agree or disagree, or what you do and don't disagree with down below in the comments. Have a great day. I'm gonna go get the rest of my day started now, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out, my boys.